what's been on my mind. Sick and tired of the 9 to 5 in the city life. Hey darling, we could get out of town, see the beautiful world around, wanna see it now. Pack our bags and get in that car, leave a little note and we'll drive real far. Let's get out, we can leave this city. Let's drive to the open air. Yeah, the countryside is so pretty, with the wind blowing in your hair. We can look back someday. Baby, don't you understand that we only get one life? I wanna make it count, honey. Come on now and take my hand. Hey darling, I love it when it's me and you on the road with a couple of tunes in a car for two. Hey darling, you know we're gonna have a really good time, driving in the middle of the night when the stars are bright. Pack our bags and get in that car, leave a little note and we'll drive real far. Let's get out, we can leave this city. Let's drive to the open air. Yeah, the countryside is so pretty, with the wind blowing in your hair. We can look back someday. Baby, don't you understand that we only get one life? I wanna make it count, honey. Come on now and take my hand. Get out, we can leave this city. Let's drive to the open air. Yeah, the countryside is so pretty, with the wind blowing in your hair. We can look back someday. Baby, don't you understand that we only get one life? I wanna make it count, honey. Come on now and take my hand. Yeah, we only get one life. I wanna make it count, honey. Come on now and take my hand.
Hello, welcome to Fiber Trek. You are most welcome. As you can see, we've had a very adventurous February in northern Maine. We decided to take our snowmobile and head further into the woods. We were so grateful that our dear friends Bob and Teresa decided to join us. It's easier to manage this type of winter travel when you've got a buddy system, I think, of capable people. That's not me. Rob and Bob decided to go in initially and get the cabin set up and figure out if we would be able to cross the lake. And I decided to ski for as long as I could. I knew Rob would be coming back out, but he had prepared me to be out there for at least 6 hours on my own. So knowing that, and with the weather condition, I felt comfortable kind of just taking my survival kit and peanut butter and jelly sandwich and skiing for a good long time. And I will say that while conditions started out relatively easy, you can see some wonderful glide there on my skis, things were not going to go as planned. So the road that I'm on is typically in the summer a logging road, and it is used to access different areas of the North Woods for snowmobiling, but it's not a significant highway or piece of the ITS system here in the state for snowmobilers. I did run into one group and they were very concerned about me, but I assured them that my husband was returning to pick me up. Lots of moose track and lots of birds and squirrels. So my wildlife sightings were relegated to bird calls and tracks, which is fine. I found a nice open sunny spot to grab some lunch, and I needed to solve a problem. So with the opportunity to be outside for such a long time alone, I was not ready for conditions to change with the snow. Things had been cold and now they had warmed up, and you're going to see the effect of that on my skis. I had to stop and was losing a lot or gaining a lot of resistance when I was gliding on those skis. I did not want to sit still or wait long periods of time because I was worried I would get cold. And I knew, like I said, that I had a bit of time before Rob would be back. I wasn't sure. So here was my problem. Snow buildup on my skis. These are waxless skis. The temperature of the snow was sticky, so it was above freezing. It was super powdery and fine, and this obviously makes travel very difficult. In fact, I thought I was going to be walking in my skis, which would have been, for me, murderous. And as I thought about it over lunch, I decided I would try using my trusty chapstick. There's different types of wax you can use for different conditions to repel the moisture off your ski. And seeing as all I had was some Burt's Bees chapstick, which I keep in my kit for fire starting, thought I would give that a try. So not only did my skis end up working, thank goodness, they smelled wonderfully of lavender and rosemary every time I took a step. So I, obviously, as you saw, didn't have very much of that wax left. So once I got the skis down, I really didn't want to pick my feet up. I didn't want to stop. And that made filming some pieces difficult because getting off into the snow or setting up tripod or taking my skis off, I was very reluctant to do. But ultimately, in the end, I was able to get some glide with a little help from guides and guardians above and my chapstick. I was able to get to mile marker 7, where Rob picked me up and took me into the cabin. We were able to access it through the lake. You can see the slush here, which was a concern to get bogged down in. And so managing the sleds and the weight of all of the supplies was something to be mindful of. And lucky for me, Rob has spent a lot of time on snowmobiles in the woods for his job. Also lucky for me, he had the fire, he and Bob had the fire going, and the cabin starting to warm up by the time I got there. I was very cold and tired, so happy to sit and wait for Bob to return with Teresa. And then certainly have the time to relax in the cabin and plan what we were going to do for our next day. You're looking to Katahdin there, and we headed out on snowshoes to visit one of Rob's favorite areas, which is Hug-a-Pine. It's this very large pine tree. I was a little uncertain about the snowshoeing across the lake since the slush was so deep, but we managed to get across. And while this area had now been cut, which was very recent, Rob was happy to see that Hug-a-Pine still stood. The return home was not as easy as heading out, and I struggled in the slush here with my smaller snowshoes. Rob had on a larger pair, like a longer pair with more surface area, so he was able to get me to the shoreline, and we trudged back to this wonderful fire.
Hey darling, can I tell you what's been on my mind? Sick and tired of the 9 to 5 in the city life. Hey darling, we could get out see the beautiful world around, wanna see it now. Pack our bags and get in that car. Leave a little note and we'll drive real far. Let's get out, we can leave this city. Let's drive to the open air. Yeah, the countryside is so pretty, with the wind blowing in your hair.
We had such a great time on our outing, and I obviously took knitting with me. I finished the knitting portion of the Bressa sweater by Marie Wallen, and now it is time to deal with all of the ends. I have toyed with the idea of knotting these, so just tying them together and not weaving in ends, but I think I've already started to do it, so I'm just gonna finish up that way. I believe I knotted my lovage sweater by her, and I've just taken a sharp wool needle, so I'm just pulling it through and hoping it gets trapped by the fibers. So I'm not doing like a really particular job on this. Just want to kind of get it finished. I did block it, and in doing so, I opted to rip out one of the cuffs. I noticed that it had kind of been distorted, so I ripped it out and I reknit that portion of a cuff that had been finished, and then I finished the other cuff. So all in all, that to say, it is complete. No style photos or video on this particular episode, but coming soon. Now, of course, since I had to deal with casting on and casting off that cuff again, I decided to start a new project. I was inspired by the Heart of the Forest hat by Sophia Camaborn, and who is also a dear friend. So I grabbed some old stash. This yield salt from the Net Loft in Alaska had been a birthday present, I think even maybe more than 6 years ago. And I really loved this colorway, the spruce. This is the Latouche base. It's a BFL, 100% BFL DK weight, and hand dyed by Shelley Kosen, I think, in Alaska. So I paired that with some Rommel phenol yarn, and initially I was going to use that copper in her hull colorway for the brim, but I opted to just do a 2-color version with the embroidery on the heart. I did knit as the pattern intended, as far as I picked the same needle size, and I followed the chart, didn't make any modifications, but this ended up being too small for an adult head in length, but it fit my niece perfectly. The last piece I thought I would highlight over this past month is I have plied the Icelandic singles that I'd been working on for my nephew's sweater. In my last edition, I detailed what I was thinking about and what material I was using, and I had spun enough gray that I wanted to start to get a feel for the weight I would be working with. So when I ply a 2-ply yarn, I do like to create a little bit of high twist, and I like it to be somewhat consistent. And the way that I kind of achieve that consistency is to identify a mark between the orifice and my hand that is holding the yarn, and then I count the number of treadles between those two distances. So in this case, we're looking at 10 treadles between the orifice and my guide hand, and then I release the yarn onto the bobbin. Here's the finished product. It's turning out to be right around a bulky, and I need to work on spinning some more of this color as well as the contrast, and I'll be detailing some of the carding and preparation I've done for that. I have some cream Icelandic, and I will then be thinking about a pattern for him. Thank you so much for joining me on this edition. It was fun to bring you along to our off-grid cabin in the North Woods with our friends and share a little bit of the adventure there. I so appreciate all the insight and support for those that choose to contribute through comments. I especially appreciate the financial support of my patrons, and I can't wait to see you next time. Happy trails.